How do you transform an individual devoted to division and hurt? How do you renew a family that's broken or worse? How do you change a culture known for being deceitful, evil, and perverse? Well, the letter to Titus says it's by transformed people doing transformative works. We renew individuals, families, and cultures through a renewed church. And out of all the cultures on earth that needed to be redeemed, out of all the places the church needed to reach, perhaps none were more in need than Crete. And at the heart of Cretan culture, as it was in many Greek states, was a deep passion for the pastime of debate. Public arguments were like a sport to this people. Their halls were filled with controversies and quarrels. What could change a land so hostile? Was a transformation of Cretan individuals, families, and culture even possible? In response to all these obstacles, early Christian missionaries like Titus began to bring Crete the news of the gospel. But when Titus came to Crete carrying a message of renewal, it came through a different method and with a different moral. Titus did not stir up division. He was not drunk, arrogant, or quick-tempered. He was a renewed individual carrying a renewed disposition. He taught about Jesus while being sober-minded and self-controlled in his gentle exposition. And that's because Titus had been transformed by Jesus. For Jesus manifested God's transformative work. Jesus transformed individuals by showing mercy to the hurt. Jesus renewed families by giving love to the worst. Jesus changed culture by offering forgiveness to the perverse. And as people encountered Jesus, they developed a thirst to be like him, a transformative person doing transformative works. And Jesus would do this transforming work by pouring out his Spirit into the hurt, worst, and perverse. By giving the cleansing water of his Spirit, Jesus changed individuals, families, and cultures so drastically that it would be called a regeneration, a renewal, a rebirth. This is how Jesus would renew the whole world, by pouring out his Spirit to create a renewed church. As Cretans were won over by the works of Jesus, manifested through people like Titus, they developed a spiritual thirst to be a transformed people doing transformative works. And by pouring out his Spirit, God was renewing individual Cretans and forming a renewed Cretan church. As Christian Cretans started to gather in their homes, this washing of renewal would spread into their families, their residence. For those who used to be slaves to evil passions and foolishness would start to treat their entire households, even their slaves, with gentleness. The men would show love and steadfastness. The women would display purity and kindness. The young would model self-control and goodness. This is how God would change the island of Crete. By transformed people doing transformative works. God would renew individuals, families, and cultures through a renewed church. But there remained a Cretan ache for public debate. And into this space came teachers of the Jewish faith. These teachers said Cretans needed more than Jesus if they really wanted to be changed. They needed to partake in Jewish identity markers if they wanted to see their individuals, families, and cultures be reshaped. They needed to be circumcised. They needed to change what they ate. They needed to transform into Jews if they wanted to truly be remade. They taught that Jesus alone could not create a renewed person from their evil state. The word of the law would change them, not Jesus's words. The work of Jesus's cleansing just wouldn't work. Eventually, these teachers made their way into the Cretan church. They began to share their doctrine through controversy and contention, quarrels and dissension. These teachers stirred up the Cretans' appetite for division. Soon, within their own ranks, the church in Crete began to debate. They argued and raged over what would really change individuals, families, and cultures from their corrupted state. Was the work of Jesus enough? Did his Spirit really wash their corruption away? Word about this argumentative climate reached the ears of the Apostle Paul. Paul was the one responsible for Titus's Cretan assignment, so Paul wrote to Titus about how to transform his Cretan environment. And the message found in this short Pauline epistle is that Jesus renews whole cultures through renewed families and individuals. First, the letter focuses on the individual. He addresses the debaters, the empty talkers, the controversial, those who are seeking to add something additional to the pure water of Jesus' renewal. Because to add anything supplemental to the simple message of the gospel is to take the pure and make it defiled. Other individuals singled out in the letter were the overseers of the church, the elders. They were meant to protect the church, not only from corrupt teachers, but from a corrupt culture. The church's elders were not meant to look like the rest of Crete. They were to be faithful and patient, bring goodness and peace. They were to be free from drunkenness, pointless arguments, and all forms of greed. Transformed elders doing transformative works would silence false teachers and renew the church. And as these leaders acted morally and corrected fallacies, they would renew and transform their families. Wives and children, slaves, young men and women, all would experience a transformation. In the renewed work of their leaders, Jesus appeared to them. He was manifested. They could meet him. These Cretans had been transformed by Jesus' transformative work. They had been renewed as individuals and families into a culture known as the renewed church. So, Titus called them to carry on Jesus' transformative work. As those renewed by the water of the Spirit, they were to take that water to those who thirst. What is God's plan to change the world? How will Jesus reshape the earth? Through people transformed by his Spirit, doing transformative works. Jesus will renew individuals, families, and cultures through his renewed church. Thank you so much for watching our video. My name is David Bowden with Spoken Gospel, and we are a nonprofit ministry dedicated to speaking the gospel out of every corner of Scripture through free resources like the video you just watched. If you like this video and the other things we create and you want to see more, we invite you to donate to us because we are completely donor supported and we give everything away for free because of the generosity of people like you. So go over to spokengospel.com to join us in our mission, and thanks for watching.